Hardy Construction.
What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/Hardy Construction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host Comp,
Rondo.
as well as
Sicko.
today's film is
In the Mouth of Madness, 1995.
1994. That's what I see.
On here it says 95.
IMDb, because it says 1994.
I'm looking at Wiki. Okay, 94. Fine.
Okay.
Fuck you.
In the Ass of Madness, 1994, directed by John Carpenter, written by Michael DeLuca, starring Sam Neill, Jurgen Prochnow, and Julie Carmen. Directed by, yes, John Carpenter, like we said, based on the works of they try to play it like it's not based on
H.P. Lovecraft.
They try to play it like it's not H.P. Lovecraft. You don't even see his name mentioned, but it's for sure mentioning H.P. Lovecraft and Stephen the King. So, Danny, why did you pick this film, In the Mouth of Madness?
We've done the other two of the Apocalypse trilogy.
That's true. So we're
John Carpenter. So it's like, why not finish
what were the other two Carpenter films?
Thing and Prince of Darkness.
Very racist that you said that. So, In the Mouth of Madness is this film that Carpenter, like you said, was it the third film in his Apocalypse trilogy?
Yeah, I think it's the final one. Yeah.
And you know you're in trouble when it starts out with rock and roll music. That's when Carpenter started giving up with his movies.
He made it, apparently. He made the music.
Oh no, he's a great musician. No, he's great. He does these really kind of
like every movie basically.
he does all these like amazing.
I didn't know that.
He came out with 2 albums recently of just like music that I think he wanted to do for films, but he didn't like sort of release it.
Music that he didn't end up using for
Yeah,
films.
he ended up making it with his
He should film himself having sex and put the music to it.
What a weird guy you are. He and his son kind of made them
final
together.
word.
And he should have like special effects people like give the person he's having sex with like a squid head or something.
There's a great Bret Easton Ellis episode interviewing John Carpenter. I always promote Bret Easton Ellis podcast. It's very good because he's such a snide sort of. That's amazing. I love it. And plus, he wrote a American Psycho. So he sort of sounds like all his characters from his book. So it's like funny.
So he's like a serial killer, sociopath.
I think he wants to
basically.
be, but he's very enjoyable. He's funny. He's sort of like that, bitchy man that's funny. Anyway, so this film stars Sam Neill, the low-budget Anthony Hopkins. Sam Neill, I like Sam Neill. I like Sam Neill. Sam Neill makes cool genre films, but he's like
He does.
He like sort of like you like if you don't see him in a movie, you kind of picture him sort of begging with like a change can outside for some reason.
He should have become Agent Smith.
He should have. He does have that that sort of delivery that what's his face has. The guy who does play Agent Smith. I forget his name. Anyway, so also in this film.
Agent Smith.
Oh, is he, Danny? You want me to bet you money that he's not Agent Smith? I'll bet you $10 he's not Agent Smith right now.
Who the fuck is Agent Smith?
Wait, am I saying the wrong
From
name?
The Matrix.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not.
Oh, wait. No.
All right,
you're
$10 for me. Thanks, Danny.
I didn't even agree to the bet.
So, I know. Always try to find a way. So, this movie also has Jurgen Prochnow, who plays Sutter Kane, who is the stand-in for Stephen King. I believe he's a German actor. And he's in one of the greatest movies of all time called House of the Dead. Oh my God! That's an absolute masterpiece of a horror film. Like you can't understand how great that movie is, Dan. We got to talk about that movie one day,
I don't
Dan.
think I've ever seen it.
Thea, have you seen that movie?
Shit. We should definitely
We'll do that episode. Anyway, Danny,
it's
it's based on a Sega arcade game where the director of the film,
Uwe
Boll.
Yeah, however the hell you say his name.
He's so
sucked into the video game.
He's
No,
so
they don't,
no.
but it's
That would have been
worse
better.
than
He's
that.
he's such an inept director, Uwe Boll, that in the film, let's say they have references to video. Let's say Street Fighter, right? Remember Street Fighter movie? Those references of characters wearing costumes.
That's a horrible.
You know how lazy this guy is. He actually put shots of the video game in the movie. Now that's
into it for no reason.
Now that's
Not
directing.
explained.
Okay,
Wow.
let's get back into this movie. Into the Mouth of Madness. Thea, what is this movie? Well, I actually should ask Danny because he picked it. Danny, what is this movie about?
It is about H.P. Lovecraft, a.k.a. Sutter Kane.
A.k.a. Stephen King.
A.k.a. Stephen King. Yeah, basically. So basically, it's about a guy, an author, whose work has become real based on collective consciousness of everyone being into the work, which is an idea that Stephen King did in Dark Tower, and Clive Barker did, and there was a Will Ferrell movie where like his life was being narrated.
Yeah, I know that.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's like an idea that's been done a lot, but I actually thought this movie did it kind of good.
I sort of was like, by the end of it, I was sort of like, what's the point of this movie again? But Sutter Kane, I actually love that name, Sutter Kane. I don't know why. I wish that was like a real writer for some reason. This is just something like buttery about the name, right? It's just something nice about the name.
Before I had even seen this movie, I had seen people just write or say, like, have you read Sutter Kane? And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that's from. Why?
And people are trying to find out if the name was an anagram for something. I think they were trying to figure out what it was. But there's a lot of people that either love or hate this, like true, like real John Carpenter fans.
I don't know what's hateable about it.
I quite liked it, actually.
No, I liked it. I actually thought he did a lot really good with the level of the weirdness in the film. I thought he did really well, like the parts where he's looking at the painting of the people on the field, and the heads would always change, or the directions of the people would change and stuff like that. And I think what screws it up is that John Carpenter and his editor, unless he edited himself, like the jump scares, like the editing is off on the jump scares because the camera shot will last too long on the jump scare. Like it'll be like the jump scare, like usually a jump scare will happen and then it'll cut to the person's face, like the reaction or something like that. In this film, the jump scare will stay like uncomfortably for like 30 seconds longer onto the shot, and you're like, this is awkward. Like, what's going on?
Maybe they're trying to try an experimental jump scare.
Somebody was thought the name Sutter Kane was an anagram for nutter case. So it's like, I guess it's like a nut case.
I don't know about that.
That's reaching.
I bet you John Carpenter goes, yeah, that's what it means. So how does this film start out, Danny?
Well, it starts out with our main character, what the fuck is his name? Trent or Fitz? That's it. He is basically investigating
he's an insurance investigator, right?
An insurance fraud thing. Like, that's how we meet him. He's like an insurance fraud person.
Because Sutter Kane disappeared.
Yeah, but first he's doing like, what the hell was it? It was a guy saying his place burned down.
Yeah, and he was actually giving all his money to his wife, and also at the same time the woman he's having an affair with. And I like that his boss was Bernie Casey Robinson, the dude from. That was another thing. If anybody's seen Revenge of the Nerds, like I guess that was a great movie in the '80s. That was a movie that said two things: you can sexually assault a woman, and then she'll fall in love with you. Yeah, and she'll fall in love with you. And then the other one was that like. People can beat you up, but once you have 5 or 6 black guys, it automatically scares white people to not fight back. It's a very funny movie, but it's a great movie.
And also, if you can play a MIDI keyboard like Nintendo music, everyone will love you, even though you're a rapist.
That's true. Also, it had a great a cappella version of "We Are the Champions," so that movie was awesome. But anyway, so he's doing this. He gets hired by this publication house that publishes all of Sutter Kane's works, and the boss. And I'm watching this, and I was like, "Have I ever seen a film with Charlton Heston?" Because I don't remember him. I don't think I've ever seen a Charlton Heston film until this movie.
No.
And you should have pulled out a gun.
And this movie, this movie features Charlton Heston and an extra wig on his head. Like it looked like that. I think Sutter Kane wrote the wig on his head because it looked out of another planet. So anyway, he and his sort of googly-eyed assistant named Linda Stiles, and I kept thinking of fucking Wolf. What the hell is that movie called? Teen Wolf, because there's a character named Stiles in it. So I was like, Stiles every fucking 5 seconds. Julie Carmen is a Hispanic woman. That's good for her. She has these oversized eyes, which make her look like a deer in headlights the most of the time.
Do you think that when Michael J. Fox becomes a werewolf, he's still like shaking and shit, or do you think he's temporarily cured?
Aww,
that's tasteless.
Like he's like one of those shaky Chihuahua werewolves that just like his back legs are all like
What
wobbly.
is a Chihuahua werewolf?
No, you know when Chihuahuas have their legs like all shaky. Like they're like these little shaky rat dogs.
Incredibly tasteless, and I divorced myself from this proceeding.
He is a legend and a Canadian, and how dare you, sir?
I have nothing against him. I love him, but I feel like he would be less threatening as a werewolf.
If you've seen the masterpiece Casualties of War, where he has to fight Sean Penn, it's a fabulous movie. I'm not making that as a joke. Anyway, so Sam Neill's John Trent, he and Linda Stiles decide to take a drive off to, where was this little town called? I forget the name of it. Some little bullshit town.
Hobbs End.
Hobbs End is essentially the magical film version of Stephen King's Derry. What was it? Derry. Where's Stephen King set up his?
Derry, Maine.
Derry, Maine, and
or like Narnia or something.
I wish
basically anywhere in Maine.
Nobody has those awesome Maine accents like they do in Stephen King films or books. Anyway, so they end up in this town. They take this long ride. There's like this weirdo on a bicycle that they pass by. It is certainly. They're not hiding the fact that they're talking to Steve. They're writing Stephen King stuff, or they're trying to adapt Stephen King stuff. Like I don't know why John Carpenter didn't just ask Stephen King if he could work with him on this, because
Stephen King is adapting H.P. Lovecraft stuff, so it's all going back to H.P.
He probably would have been into it, but
yeah, but Stephen King was probably like, this was in the 90s. Was he still cocaine crazy? I thought that was the 80s. I'm not sure, but
I think he was cleaned up a little at this point. When did he make that horrible truck movie that we loved?
Oh, Maximum Overdrive, that masterpiece. Did you know they made a remake?
This machine just called me an asshole.
This machine just called me an asshole. So they made a remake
I don't know that I'm ever gonna see it.
They made a remake.
It's good.
They actually.
It's hilarious.
It's pretty bad.
Well, that's different.
Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, I remember what it's called.
Maximum Overpad.
I just never saw it.
So
Maximum Overkill.
So they end up in this town. I feel like I just skipped a whole bunch of storyline. There's also the guy with the axe that attacks John Trent at the diner. It ended up being his Sutter Kane's literary agent. So it's obviously giving you this weird, unsettling feeling that something's wrong, and we have to find Sutter Kane. And when they do get to this Hobbs End, it's kind of like a mishmash of all of any weird sort of horror tropes with sort of like villagers, angry mobs.
Kids.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was fucking Vigo from Ghostbusters 2?
I know. Did you know that? Did you know that guy was a fucking like a creep in real life? Like he was.
Yeah, I've heard. He's like miserable.
I read a thing about him where he was like a sexual assaulter and shit. Well, let me get that right. I don't want to get that wrong. I want to
He's got the face for it.
But very offensive that Thea just said that. Anyway, so how would you describe Hobbs End and this whole sort of? Do you think they were sort of reaching and John Carpenter was
It
just? It
seemed like a perfect vacation home.
Did you like that they sort of lifted off of Stephen King's? Apparently, this film was written in the 80s, and it was like. It took a long time for them to find the director for the film. And then when they did, obviously, I'm sure John Carpenter was like, okay, let's fix this stuff and let's mold. It was more based on H.P. Love.
It didn't offend me that they did it. I'm a Stephen King fan. It didn't bother me.
It was more based.
I thought it was flattering to him.
I mean, everyone knew who they were talking about.
Right. But it works within the movie.
It was more based on H.P. Lovecraft originally than it got into Stephen King stuff. You know what I mean? Because it sort of is going from the playbook of Stephen King's works. Did you like that it was sort of lifted off everything, or do you felt that it was appropriate for the film?
I'm sure there was a legal reason why they couldn't say it was Stephen King or H.P. Lovecraft.
Obviously they're just like amalgamations of the guys, but I thought it was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. There was stuff like.
I think it was a lot of fun, and visually they had a lot of visual. I don't know, interesting shots and interesting sort of.
What did you guys think of? What did you think of the horror imagery? Did it work for you, or you thought it was sort of cheap, or?
He definitely got those good tentacles going. There's thing tentacles.
That's certainly. I think it goes from Stephen King visuals to H.P. Lovecraft video. The monsters on the other side of the world sort of thing, the other dimension. Let's get into Sutter Kane.
He even says the great old ones at one point.
Oh yeah, for sure. What did you think of Sutter Kane himself, the guy playing Jürgen Prochnow, playing his character? It's sort of like over the top German acting, but what did you guys think of it?
Yeah.
Thea.
I think it's good that you see him sparingly, but who's good?
Yeah, I think he was all right. I mean, I like that old lady that I like that old lady that was in the film, the one that was like keeping her husband nude, chained by the neck. Like I've seen her in a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
She's in Happy Gilmore, Twin Peaks.
Was she Happy Gilmore's grandmother in that film? She's great, that old lady. I don't know if she's anything. Yeah. She's amazing. I don't know. Compared to other John Carpenter films, it's so funny because watching a lot of John Carpenter films, I guess Danny and I have seen a lot of John Carpenter movies, and for the most part. I think we've seen more than we have seen less. And I don't know if that fucking made any sense what I just said, but I don't know if this is compared to the other ones. This isn't like really the strongest one, but it has really nice imagery to it. But it sort of feels like he's kind of sleepwalking during making this film. It's not as like I like this more than I did Vampires. You know what I mean? But Danny likes Vampires a lot, right?
Oh yeah, by far.
I don't know if I like it a lot, but I don't remember disliking it.
You didn't like Vampires compared to this, or did you like Vampires more?
No, I don't mind Vampires. I prefer this one, probably just because of the story.
You're obsessed with this movie, Thea.
I think
I'm obsessed.
I think what happens is that I think it's a lot of the story stuff like in Vampires, like he has two characters fall in love within 15 minutes of the film. I think it was one of the Baldwin brothers falls in love with the vampire lady, and there was like no setup to it. It was just like, okay, now we're gonna be in love. And in this one, it's stuff like the finale where Sam Neill's character Trent finds out that he was being written all this time, and then I was like, why did Sutter Kane go through the point of creating a character just for him to go through madness at the end? Like, what the fuck is the point of it?
Because he's writing a book.
Yeah, but what's the point? It's a fucking book. Like, what?
Yeah,
who
but
is?
He made an interesting movie called In the Mouth of Madness.
But who's Sutter Kane trying to impress? Like, who's Kane trying to impress? Like, it looked like nobody went to go see the movie. It was just him.
He wrote it for the sake of a cool story to drive this character crazy, and we just reviewed the movie.
But what does
that's the whole premise of the movie.
What is so important about
reviewing a real thing?
I know, but what is the point of John Trent? Like, what did he do to Sutter Kane that forces of darkness went to make him mad? Like, what's so important about his character?
Character in any movie like this due to the author to write.
Yeah.
It's just the idea of taking a normal person who's living a normal life.
But wasn't he
But isn't he created him? Yeah.
Yeah, isn't he a creation of him?
That's what drives him crazy is that he realizes he's a book character, not a real person, basically.
Yeah, but what the fuck is the point? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to be convinced.
I don't understand.
Okay, let's say you're Sutter Kane and you're writing this book about monsters from another dimension and people going nuts in a town and shit, and you write this character and then you write it that he goes crazy at the end, and then it happens in real life. Like, what? Who's he?
Every H.P. Lovecraft book is about.
No, but with H.P. Lovecraft is a person. It's a person who's normal and then runs into something crazy. It's not like H.P. Lovecraft wrote the person in real life. I'm going nuts because I'm trying to explain this. It obviously doesn't make any sense what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't understand why it's a problem.
It just sort of seems insane. Like, unless he wasn't created by Sutter Kane, unless he is, it leaves you that question. Like, why is he going insane, and what the fuck is the point? Because I guess
he's just having fun playing God. That's it.
But then he ends up tearing himself apart, which is sort of laughable effect. But I sort of liked it when he tore himself into another dimension, like out of paper and stuff like that. But I don't know. That was probably the only frustrating thing.
He's a writer first, a god second. So he's just having fun fucking with his characters.
Yeah, this is a film where I think it's more about the sets. You know what I mean? The set, and not exposition, but just like the set pieces of like him seeing something kooky happening every like 5 minutes in the film. But I don't know if it makes it a strong film at all. What did you guys think?
I mean, Thea obviously likes it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like this movie. I don't know what else to. I think I didn't have that many problems with it because I just sort of, maybe it's just the suspension of belief thing, or I enjoyed the like journey of it enough and the imagery of it enough that I didn't really care.
I like that
it's just kind of it's like a fun, goofy kind of movie that kind of worked. It worked for me.
I like that they put effort into. I like that they put effort into the production art, like the novel covers, like the artwork for it is pretty awesome. For all of Sutter Kane's books, it looks like real, novels from the 1980s and 1990s and stuff. That sort of cheesy, airbrushed art. I liked the monster designs. I liked the cop beating the shit out of that guy because John Carpenter was a visionary.
You loved the cop violence.
That was great. Sure. I loved it. Right?
If Trent killed himself, would he go back into the book, or would he like go into that world behind the door? Like, do we know?
Theoretically, he wouldn't be able to kill himself unless it was written that way, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't want to think anymore about this movie, but I thought it was okay.
Yeah, actually, that's what Vigo the Carpathian says. He says he's making me.
Does anybody know that guy's name? Because I feel bad I feel bad if I called that guy sexual assault and he's not. I gotta
No,
like.
I do.
God damn it. Is there anything negative about the film
I'll
that you
try
guys
to look
didn't?
it up, but
I'm
he's,
pretty sure you're right.
What's the negative?
there's no,
aspect?
we don't get to see Vigo in a painting coming out. Vigo.
I'm Vigo, just softly whispering Vigo into the night. A bad thing, I think you're probably right. Like some of the generic character designs of all the characters from his book coming to life are a little silly sometimes. But I think because they don't have the time to go into depth about any of them, really, I think it works in that respect. But they could have gone like even further, probably.
Did the soundtrack stick out for you guys at all? Was it something that you thought was
It was a
interesting?
little cheesy, the soundtrack, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's kind of fun. That's sort of
That's
fun.
also the era, and I feel like that was also like it's the tail end of
Hair metal.
Carpenter's movies being like. I mean, he was doing 80s soundtracks for all of his movies, whether they were in the 80s or not. So that's just kind of his trademark.
Oh, by the way, I looked up this Vigo the Carpathian. The name of the article is "The Hateful and Life and Spiteful Death of the Man Who Was Vigo the Carpathian."
Yeah,
What the
that was
hell?
that was the same thing I read. Okay, so this
They
is what.
didn't mince words.
So I can't put sexual assault. Excuse that, but this is
It
what
doesn't say sexual assault, but apparently he was not a good person.
Hamburg was accused of a number of crimes such as extortion, pimping, and drug dealing. He was also guilty of and admitted.
Okay, well-
Oh, here we go. He was also guilty of and admitted to raping his father's young wife Ursula, leading to the question of whether or not he was actually either the father of his sister Rona. Oh, brother.
Oh.
He was also bisexual.
That's
Far
some Game of Thrones.
Okay,
shit
well
right
that's
there.
not
Far
relevant.
from the German limelight, Holmberg tried to remake his life, restarting his career as an actor. Oh, okay, so he left that behind him. Everybody could forgive him for that stuff, right? He enjoyed
Sure.
the company of dogs and horse riding. Wow, what a great guy. Anyway, that's
It's
the
not so bad after all.
that's the kind of people John Carpenter hires
he
for his
likes dogs,
films.
so do I.
I just said Spam Neill. Sam Neill, who's the Hawaii. I got to go to sleep.
I was confusing Sam Neill with Hugo Weaving. By
Right,
the way.
exactly. You gave me my
I was
$10.
confused with Pierce Brosnan when I was little.
Yeah, I can
Really?
see that. It's very racist
know
of you,
why.
but I thought it was okay.
I don't know why, to be
But
honest.
I think Sam Neill did a good job. Sam Neill's people were actually on IMDb saying, "Hey, wasn't Sam Neill's accent sort of going in and out?" I was like, "What fucking accent? He was just doing his accent. He didn't.
Yeah, that's what he sounds like.
Did you think he sounded American in the beginning of him? Because no, I was like, he sounds like a fucking a Brit or whatever he is in the film. I like the film. Whatever, it was okay. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Having an old lady chain her husband up for a BDSM pleasure as he's in nude or in his underwear, groveling at her feet. Thea?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Whoa.
Waking up screaming and your whole world turning blue.
Danny, what
Yeah.
rating would you give this movie?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. 7.5. I'm gonna agree. Out of 10.
Never
Seeing
agrees with me.
your imaginary girlfriend crawl out of a car with her head on backwards, and you feel slightly sexually turned on, but you drive away.
Speak for yourself. Thea, what's the
I
final
am.
word? So Thea,
He
what's the
always
final
is.
word?
Blue.
Danny, what's the final word?
Lit up lights.
The Horror Deconstruction.